Hey folks, this is Soul with some War Within coverage. Today we're going to look at delves in this very first build of the alpha. What are they? How do they work? Where's the loot? And are we having fun? These questions won't fully be answered in today's video, but today makes for a start. Hit the like button, subscribe for more coverage, and catch me live on Twitch. Delves are a solo or a small group adventure that functions kind of like a mini dungeon crawl, but is managed not unlike a scenario. You've got an objective, and sometimes you got quirky mechanics to deal with, like using a light to navigate, but if the light goes out, then you start losing maximum health until you escape the darkness. Or maybe some weird spore things are chasing you, or any number of things. In so few words, when we enter a delve, our goal is to make it to the other side, because at the end, there's loot. What I'm going to showcase today is not going to be super comprehensive, it's just going to be the simple basics of how it works, and how it's been presented to us in this, again, first build of the War Within Alpha. The main questline led me to my very first delve here in Earthcrawl Mines. It's displayed with this cave-looking icon on the minimap, and out in the world, the entrance is identified with a mysterious shroud-looking thing. Approaching it will make this UI pop up here, where we can choose our difficulty if we meet the requirements. According to developer interviews, there are 11 tiers or levels of difficulty, which I'll explain a little bit more later. Below, you can mouse over what you can expect to encounter in this particular delve. The first icon gives the premise of the sorts of enemies that you'll encounter. In this case, it's the Nerubians. The second will display any damage bonuses that are applied due to your chosen difficulty. So in this example, Tier 1 is normal, while Tier 2 means enemies will have extra health and damage, and more traps will appear in the delve. The third icon displays any sorts of, affixes that will appear. In this case, there are webs throughout the delve that if I step in them, I'll get snared and some little bugs will attack. At the end, experience and treasure awaits, and more if I have the right items on me. I'll talk a little bit more on that later too. So let's go in. Without load screens, the shroud just disappears, and in we are. Right in front of us are these Explorers League supplies. Here you can repair, and very importantly, you can set up your companion, Bran Bronzebeard, before you're off to adventure. Bran's going to be accompanying you throughout this season, and he can fill certain roles to suit your playstyle, either DPS or healer. Regardless of the role, he still has certain base attacks, defensives, and utility. Your decision will just have his behavior lean more in one direction than the other, at least at this level. He learns additional abilities over time that might be very helpful for tougher difficulties. The best part is that his progression is shared account-wide, so down the line, when you take your Lobby alt, you can recklessly wander around while Bran takes care of you. So let's dive in. I happened to pick the Tier 2 difficulty, considering that I'm a tank. My first delve had me save a bunch of Earthen who were trapped by the Nerubians. And I just want to point out that the footage that's shown here shows you crabs instead of spiders. That happens to be a setting that's also being added in this expansion for those who have a fear of spiders. Now you can develop a fear of crabs and lobsters too, but anyway, off we went. I didn't feel particularly challenged at this lower difficulty. Maybe it's because I'm just a tank. And especially at this difficulty, delves are, made to introduce us into the basics. But I'm still running over webs and spawning more mobs because I wanted to feel something. During my run, I took on a rare that posed very little threat, and when I killed it, it happened to drop temporary buffs that weren't unlike anima powers. So I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. It gives delves that kind of one part adventure, one part arcade sort of feel. But there's also no timers, there's no defeat conditions. Even though this was kind of like an escort quest, it didn't have that sense of danger or urgency. The folks in the cart were in no danger. Bran proved himself to be a pretty decent partner. I expect him to deal damage, since I can keep myself up just fine, but he's got quite a few abilities, including traps that he throws down that I drag mobs over to for extra damage. Sometimes he'll even hold aggro, requiring me to use a full taunt to get him off him, so that explains why there's no tank role that I can assign to Bran. Also, when I finish combat, Bran takes notes if I lost health or mana, and offers to give me a moment to rest and get my resources back up, even drops food and a cozy fire for us to sit around. As we progress through, we pass by a few Hearthstone-like monuments where we can probably respawn in case we're killed. There's even an opportunity to repair and respec Bran for, those situations where we might be wiping on the final boss or something and I need to, reassess my tactics. In this low-level situation, though, I smoked the boss without really breaking a sweat. The way things are right now, when I put them side by side, I'd say follower dungeons feel a little bit more, time consuming or more difficult than this. And my hopes are that delves in general, that, they're designed to, of course, be beatable, but also be the kind of experience that we learn and grow from, because at least at certain points, we tend to struggle or even wipe. Otherwise, what's the use of all of Brand's cool abilities, right? This is where the optional difficulties come from. I described the first two difficulties, which are immediately accessible. A third difficulty unlocks after basically completing the leveling campaign and reaching a certain item level. From there, additional difficulties will unlock, and clearing them will yield better rewards at the end. From what I'm understanding, there are 11 levels of difficulty. Completing level 8 difficulty is what's going to yield the highest reward, and going further is just for like bragging rights or maybe an achievement. There are two types of goodie bags that wait for you at the end of a delve. There's the basic reward that gives some resources and what are called resonant crystals. These can be traded in for cosmetics like cool hats, and you can buy these from a vendor at the capital city. And then there's the more bona fide player power, the gear, progression, but these require special keys. From the sounds of it, the frequency of obtaining these rare or even epic keys is going to be not unlike the weekly quest that we do now, like the Super Bloom, aiding the Accord, and so on. The devs indicated that the best gear from Dells will be at champion level, so it'd be like normal raid gear. We've yet to learn exactly how it is that we're going to see hero class gear from the Great Vault in the new Outdoor World track, but no doubt high level delves will be part of this requirement. There are 3 delves to test out, all of which offered a little bit of fun, some story, and character, but they were definitely lacking in the challenge. I know it's the alpha, and this is just feedback based on what I've experienced. I do like that this could be soloed and that it doesn't involve a timer, but I'd feel more excited to have those moments where I, sometimes barely come out the other side. I feel like Delves being a solo experience offers that opportunity to challenge players knowing that they can just, start over at a difficulty that they feel more comfortable with. What we can expect with future builds are variations in how the delves work. The first delve involved like spiders and helping some miners, but a few days or maybe a week later, that delve could have an entirely different story and experience inside, even if the layout stays the same. The second delve I did is called Fungal Folly, and the primary objective was to help out a bunch of trapped scouts. The delve is very open compared to the first one, and featured these annoying explodey spore things that chase you around until you hit them, and then they jump away only to start chasing you again a few seconds later. Now, I bet that going in with a small group with some self-sustain means that we can split up and save the scouts like a lot faster. And once they were all saved, I defeated a boss, and that was pretty much the entire delve. The third delve turned out to be the most interesting of them all because of the immediate sense of urgency. This is the one that the team described to us back during BlizzCon, where we're exploring a cave or like this structure area and we need a special candle to go around. There's a visual indicator that I think is supposed to only light up areas outside of this big circle, which actually grows smaller with each step that we take. Maybe it's a bug and I'm not supposed to see outside the circle, like it's a fog of war, I'm not sure. And we can refill the candle's life by finding more as we progress from room to room, so exploration here comes at a cost. If the light goes out, we start to lose maximum health, but at this difficulty that wasn't too much of a concern. I imagine that at higher difficulties, prolonged combat and avoiding traps will quickly delete our candle power. Fortunately, finding a new one will clear our health debuff pretty quickly. Now, I like this mechanic because, again, it makes me consider my movements. It has me calculating my actions so I can ensure that I don't run out of candle stuff before getting a new one. The primary objective here was to find a number of clickable keepsakes, meaning that especially at higher levels, I might want to plan my movements before the lights go out. And once I finished these objectives, I progressed to the boss, I tore it up, and I got me some treasure. My initial impression is that with the current difficulty, delves are a pretty straightforward romp that I'm going to blast through, at least in early levels. Now, I kind of don't like that. Again, this is just personal feedback, all right? I don't like that. I'm thinking that delves ought to have just a little bit more bite to them. Not that we should have a wipe fest either, especially not at this level, but maybe there ought to be like a bit more effects to handle or avoid that apply some really distracting crowd control, friction, something to feel frustrated about because, oh no, we didn't dodge a circle on the ground. And if I don't learn from that, then as we get to higher level delves, well, shucks, maybe this will outright kill me. So I guess I want delves to teach me a little bit more as I progress through. As a solo experience, though, I think broadly this feature delivers. It's me and my trusty NPC watching my back as I explore. There are temporary powers to pick up. There are resources that I can collect if I'm a gatherer, or actually, Bran can do me a solid and pick up these resources for me. It's cool having a companion that does a little bit more than just follow me around and blow stuff up, and teaming up with the traps to help us to work together. That's very cool too. I'm going to stop here though. I mostly wanted to give you folks, these early impressions of how delves feel. It's way too early to draw conclusions outside of what we already know. This is more or less a solo or small group adventure in a more controlled or intimate setting. The rewards, of course, are important, but we don't have enough details to really paint the full picture. But I hope this does help. I'm definitely going to be diving into all the delves as they come in to pick up on some of the story, the appearances, and the mount, and then I'll be happy enough to move off of them once the reward tank goes empty, because that's just how it goes. I hope this preview helped, and if you don't mind, like this video. Subscribe for more War Within coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.